We're also going to bring in Scott Bauer because he's got a couple that are on his radar. Scott's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. He's joining us to take a look here. Scott, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us here on Midday Movers. A lot of anticipation ahead of tomorrow's jobs data, and it's interesting because it kind of ties into a stock you've got your eye on, Kroger, ticker symbol KR, and they announced some big layoffs recently. I noticed they're taking a hit as reaction too.
Yeah, this retailer, has been in trouble for a while, and they've succumbed to pressure from Walmart, some of the other big stores in their space, and this is really just a big cost-cutting measure, as really was outlined in their last earnings call and some of their staff reductions. But this is a big one. This is a very, very big cut. Now the stock's down just a little bit today here, but you look at the charts on this thing, Ben, and if you go back to earlier this year, I think it was about March, where the stock traded about 30, okay? And down to the low point that it traded just about 2 months ago or so, right down at 20.
I see.
Okay, there's something that traders look at, a technical indicator traders look at, called the 50% retracement. It's one of those Fibonacci numbers. Well, that 50% number in the stock would have been 25-ish, meaning that as the stock rallied back up to that 50% difference, that 50% level, there could be some big time selling pressure. And that's what we've seen here. That 25 has acted as some pretty stiff resistance. It also really coincides with the 200-day moving average. So, I think they're taking a step in the right direction, but from a technical standpoint, stock doesn't look too good to me.
Okay, so from the bulls position, they're going to want to see this thing back up above that 26, 27 level, back up and through that gap that you mentioned from back in March, ultimately up above that 32 level from the high in November you were talking about. But, Scott, this is the level that I'm really focused on here, 26 to 27, because they just tested it, and it does appear as if they're rolling over right now. What are you looking for from this point on to determine in terms of the next indication in terms of which way this thing's going to go here?
I think it's going to trade along with the rest of the space. We're going to talk about Costco in a second and, see what their metrics are. And we'll see how some of the other retailers are doing in terms of like Walmart and Target. And I think it'll trade in tandem along with the space. However, they are lagging. And if you were to say to me, Scott, pick one of these four retailers that we just talked about, Kroger would be ranked fourth on my list.
All right, definitely. I actually just took a little bit of a longer-term look at the chart here. I've got, going back to 2017, it looks like 36 down to 19, so roughly the 50% retracement there. You're talking about, again, getting us back into the, right around into the, $28, $29 level. Right, so a little ways to go here still in terms of on the bigger picture, but we'll keep a close eye on those 50% retracement levels. Let's move on, though. Let's talk Costco. You mentioned that it's on your radar as well in terms of sticking with this area here in terms of grocers. Let's talk a little bit about some of the chart activity you're seeing there and reaction to earnings, basically.
So from a technical standpoint, this stock looks so strong. There's some massive support around the 283 half level or so, which is the 50-day moving average. It did breach that earlier this morning on the big market sell-off for about 10 minutes. It got down as low as, I think, 281 and change, but then has come roaring back. And I really believe that you're going to see some great metrics coming out of this report today. And what has been so important for all stocks, quite frankly, is what's going on with China, what's going on with tariff talk, and what is the guidance. And I think that we're going to see out of Costco reduced numbers but good guidance. So those comp numbers are expected to be lower, and that's okay if they come in lower, but it's going to, what are they going to say about the future? What are they going to say about the big launch that they had in China just a short while ago and how that is going? And I think that, those metrics are going to be great. Their subscription platform, quite frankly, is second to none. And that's what, really is the tailwind behind this stock. And it won't surprise me at all, Ben, to see this thing trade above 300 on a print.
Okay, let's pull up a quick preview in terms of some of the numbers here we're expecting to see from Costco. Looks like EPS, we're looking for coming in estimated $2.54 a share. Scott, they're looking for $47.61 billion on this one. Looks like EPS last quarter, $2.05 a share. EPS last year, $2.36. Scott, these are a couple good names. We'll continue to keep an eye on these names, and we'll certainly watch them into the end of the week. As you mentioned here, a lot pending and kind of hanging on in the balance here in reaction to the jobs data. Scott, really appreciate you joining us here for a look at midday movers and a few stocks you've got your eye on in relation to traders. That's Scott Bauer, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Stick around, though, because coming up,